milk. Hello, hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. I almost said Thursday. I also thought it was Wednesday today. I don't know when I am, but I am here and I am now. Okay, sorry, this is really funny to me. I've been thinking about books all day, and I sit down to stream, and a friend of mine sends me a text message that's like, hey, do you have any book recommendations? Hold on. Hold on, I have to send back a message that is, what books do you want? Fiction, non-fiction, happy, sad, not dad, made for escapism,
Baby hotline, please hold me close.
made for thinking.
Baby flatline, still
I don't want this song. Okay, I fixed it. Okay, that's a problem for later me. How many shrimp is too many for one person to eat? If you're MJ or Time, I think the answer is 0. Because they're both allergic. Well, no. Time, are you allergic to shellfish? I know MJ is, and I know MJ wants to eat I know MJ wants to eat them. I don't think I'm Time. Well, you could be. Just shrimp somehow? Interesting. Otherwise, I don't like fish. So, I can't help you. I don't know how many is a normal amount to eat. I've never wanted to eat them in my life, and every time I've tried them and things, I go bleh. So I finished 2 books today. And that isn't as impressive as you think it is. Because okay, actually no, I did read almost 200 pages today. It's fine. So the one book I finished is an actual book, and then the other book I read is a short, I think it's barely over 100 pages. Yeah, it's 106 pages, smaller than normal book that is about science fiction and the alt-right, which was a trip to read in one sitting. Fake books? I love fake books. Thank you for the sub, Star. Trader, you worry me sometimes? Only sometimes. Anyways, let's boot up PowerWashing so that I can ramble and PowerWash at the same time, because it's podcast day.
Fake books, Rennie Nodders.
Rennie Nodders. I like the way that she says emote names. Can you get the book title? It's called Speculative Whiteness. It mentions my favorite author in the whole wide world, who I have never read a single book from, Chuck Tingle. This is not a joke. Because, okay, so we're gonna get into this almost immediately. Pipashi. I love that emote. Hold on. I need to read this beginning of this paragraph. But perhaps the most formally sophisticated rebuttal to fascists comes in the unlikely form of Chuck Tingle's queer, absurdist science fiction erotica. It's correct. But it's really funny. But it ties in the situation that happened back in, oh god, what year did it happen in? There were a whole bunch of people that went after, the Hugo Awards and tried to nominate Chuck Tingle for an award that he... I didn't even notice there were more cats. Oh. I got an achievement for petting all the cats. Why can't I power wash anything in my own building? Don't shoot the cat again. It doesn't do anything. Cats are unfazed by this. Access story jobs via the county map. There's so much happening already. My cat says hi. Hi! Like meow or something? Yes. I'm not reading. Chuck Tingle has a TTRPG? He has for a while. Minty, have you not read any of his horror books yet? Chuck Tingle has... Oh god, now I have to go look them up. Hold on. Chuck Tingle has several books that he has written recently. It's Bury Your Gaze, Lucky Day, and Fabulous Bodies comes out this year. I've not read any of his stuff at all. Well, I mean, that makes sense because who needs to read the Space Raptor Butt trilogy? Somebody does, but that's not the point. The point is that Bury Your Gaze, Lucky Day, and I believe Fabulous Bodies are all horror books. They are queer horror books, which is actually partially the kind of book that I finished today. I read a different book that is also horror and also queer. Wazda. Use washer. Change stance. I'm normal. Jump. Apple. Nope, I know this button existed. Change washers? Change nozzles? Okay. Change extensions? Oh, this is wonderful. Free aim mode. But yeah, that... Yep. Oh god. Well, okay. Anything else? Menu. No more menu. Am I free? What? What's the difference? Is it just that they make fun noises? There's gotta be a menu for this. Explain. Washer equipment. Oh, I understand now. It's medium versus a light. I get it. Okay. I love how even Wikipedia is like, we cannot list every book this man has written. Please do not ask. Oh no, he has too many books. But the ending conclusion. Sorry, I got distracted. The ending conclusion of the book Speculative Whiteness ties in a lot of like. Smiley face. Ties in a lot of the stuff that's been going on with sci-fi in general, with the ways that they behave around books in general, which is always a thing to think about. Because I often forget that they did the thing to Chuck Tingle. I just forget that that existed. And that they did that. And then I remember Chuck Tingle, and then I forget what I was thinking about, because Chuck Tingle is just a source of joy in this world. But really, the whole point of me reading the book was, it kind of confirmed some things that I had already been, like, looking at and understanding about the world before, and I've talked about it on stream before, which is that there's a lot of white men writing books in the sci-fi genre, and it is important to give time and energy to non-white men authors. But I had not really dissected how many of the plots that even were out there that all sorts of like alt-right people were just like, yeah, no, this is ours now. I knew about it for Dune, because Dune is the most notorious one. If you don't know anything about Dune, basically the whole point is that the first two books, I forget what the second book is called, but the first two books follow Paul Atreides, who his family gets murdered by another group of people, and he goes through the story trying to, well, getting wrapped up in and wanting to solve some sort of vengeance for himself, for his family, and he winds up becoming a messiah figure. And in the latter part of the third book, they really kind of, Frank Herbert shoves it down your face that Paul Atreides came out the other side of his story the bad guy. He fought tooth and nail to tear down the system that had made his family not even made his family, well, I guess kind of made his family. This gets complicated. But the group that had basically put his family in the position that they were in, that resulted in them dying. He becomes a god emperor in the end, and he is bad. He is evil. He is everything that is wrong. And I have been concerned since Dune came out about how some groups are going to deal with the end of the Dune story. And I'm still concerned about it. But I had never really thought about the fact that a lot of them have read this book before and have already been quoting how much they love it for years, with no regard for the fact that the story does not end the way that they want it to. And then I read more things about how there's tons of other books and authors that have even been like, hey, what the fuck are you doing with my story? Get your mitts off of this. Where they have been just absolutely detestable with looking at a story and going, this is the meaning that I see out of it. And this is also your biggest reminder that authorial intent matters, but what matters more is how you use that story afterwards. Even the most well-meaning authors who have wanted to talk about fascists and, like, bash them in one way or another have wound up in a position of, oh yeah, no, the fascists love your book. And there's not really a lot you can do about that, except to continually say how much you hate that and how much you wish they would stop. And it will never make them stop, but maybe it'll make you feel better. Hi, Icy. And maybe it'll get to some people that weren't really listening to what other people were saying before. Anyways, read more books by people of color authors. They're infinitely more interesting. I read one, I finished one today. It's not sci-fi, but the gist of it is bee cult, and that is all I'm gonna say about it. And if you want to look at it, it's called The Honeys. Bee cult. I don't know how else to describe that book. I'm gonna be very honest. This is basically a podcast, and it's the one day I'm not in podcast mode. I'm sorry, Icy, I've betrayed future you or something. I don't think I have. I'm just in a podcast mode where I don't want to think that hard about the video game, and I'm largely going to ignore the video game in favor of just rambling. So it's a podcast day for my brain. Except I have no co-host. It's just me. I'm one of those solo people podcasts like Curtis Connor does, and I don't know how he does it, and I feel like he goes a little bit insane sometimes, but he might be fine. Jessica. Oh. Sorry. I thought it was just gonna be a name. Okay, it's okay, I'll podcast while Genshin, when it finally unmaintenances. Oh yeah, it's Tuesday. All the video games do maintenance on Tuesdays for some reason. Steam does server maintenance on Tuesdays. Other games will go down on Tuesdays. Tuesday's the day of no games. Infinite games, but none. Hold on. I watched a 3-hour video essay on the Wolfenstein game, so it's funny how topical the discussion on Nazi depictions. I mean, they've been everywhere, and I would be really fascinated to see some more, like, serious an analysis of how many pieces of media have depicted fictional Nazis that have then wound up in the hands of alt-right or neo-Nazis that have been like, yeah, no, this is my jam. I just want to know how many times it's happened. And then I want to question their ability to read. On the other side of things, a lot of left-leaning women thought Olenna Tyrell was a girl boss hero because she stood up to the Lannisters, but in both the book and TV show, her entire family gets wiped out and Highgarden fell. Listen. I know nothing about Game of Thrones. I am ignorant. But I do think it's interesting the number of, like, depictions of different media that we have that are really, like, antithetical to what we like. And then I think about the number of content creators who, not that I've hated over the years, but that I've looked at and gone, I agree with nothing that you've said, but your media speaks to me in a way that you will absolutely detest, and somehow that makes it better and worse all at once. We usually get more people ordering pizza on Tuesdays rather than Mondays. Interesting. Tuesdays are the least popular day for a lot of stuff. A lot of pizza places also close on Tuesdays. Interesting. Interesting to see the difference, because it might also be regional differences. As connected as we are now with the internet, there's still a lot of regional differences that still pop up. I don't know which day is least popular for pizza in Seattle, I'm gonna be honest though. I just order pizza on whatever day I crave pizza. Hi, Super.
Wash, wash, wash.
Wishy-washy. So many ding noises. So many ding noises. Huh? Hello. Just having a quick nose around your new crib. It's even bigger than I remember. Excited to see what you're gonna fill it with. Pizzas. Probably. At this rate. You're a regional difference? I'm a very confusing difference. I had a conversation with a coworker today about putting marks in your tags. Tabs, not your tabs. Your tabs on your license plate. They're from California, and it's really normal to do in California. I learned it somewhere along the way, and I don't know where, and I can't... my parents are from very different places, so it's really hard for me to, like, understand if it was, like, a regional thing, something I saw on social media at some point, and then adopted, or some secret third thing. I was learning to do it too. Nobody in the greater Seattle area does it. Nobody. It's like not a thing that happens. Thoughts on black olives and pineapple together in pizza so you get this salty and sweet flavors? I mean, you can do that if you want to. I'm not gonna stop you. I won't eat your pizza, but you can do that. No. So sorry, Wooloo, but I always pick the olives off my pizza. I eat the pineapple. Why is there a hype train? Why am I looking at the sky like there's a god in PowerWash sim? That's not related to anything. I don't like black olives on pizza, and I only sometimes like pineapple on pizza depending on the place that I'm getting it from, and I don't do it for my own pizza. It just depends on where somebody else is ordering pizza from. How late would you consider too late for pizza? After they close. It depends if I'm working or not. Yeah. You can eat whatever food you want at whatever time of day you want. I stand by this fact. Anyways, back to books about things. Have you ever just been aware of something but not been aware of how much you are aware of something until somebody goes, hey, did you see that? And then you go, oh, I'm suddenly all too aware. Because that's basically just what speculative whiteness did to my brain. Like, I've been aware of the issues in the sci-fi genre and the groups of people, and this extends to fantasy, and I've mentioned stuff about this to do with, like, fantasy as well. The biggest thing to remember is when everybody was going absolutely insane over the Lord of the Rings TV show on Amazon, and they kept yelling about people of color playing all of the fantasy races. And really, that's just where you have to look at it for a lot of, like, that. Sci-fi, it becomes more about colonialism, because, you know, it's all colonization of space. It is quite literally colonialism of a kind. It made my brain do things today. What am I missing? Oh. Wait, can I? No. No, I can't open it. I thought I could open the door to make this easier, but no. I tried to watch it, it was painful. Which one? Is there an airplane? Where's the car? It was on Lord of the Rings? Oh yeah, no, it was definitely painful for other reasons. But a lot of people really went after the fact that there were people of color playing all the fantasy races, and they're like, unacceptable. Dwarves would never look like this. Except that dwarves are fictional. And are not real. And can look like anything. That wasn't even a problem? No, it's absolutely not the problem with the entirety of the everything going on with the Lord of the Rings show. I'm gonna start putting the word out for you everywhere I go. Thank you, Harper. I don't know what I did. Wait, I did save the world from aliens or a volcano? Something last time. Trust me, you're gonna get jobs coming in from all over. Okay. Also, even in the books, they had wildly different appearances other than the bearded women. Yeah, no, and I think that's been, like, a true staple in a lot of different media. Is... well, maybe not in all sorts of media, but in a lot of pieces of media, there'll be, like, legitimate straight-up descriptions that an author will use, and then everybody just goes after one visual depiction that one person did and goes, this is what we're imagining for the rest of this. And I'm like, are we just going to ignore the words on the page? Are we going to ignore the everything else that's going on over here? You get multiple walls of pages of text about all of the people in this world, and you pick this one picture? Have we analyzed ourselves for the bias? Because the bias might be in the room with us right now. And that's always been, like, the thing about fantasy. I feel like sci-fi and fantasy have tackled not entirely separate, but usually two different sets of, like, things that people see in the world. Sci-fi is usually about expanding outside of what we have and the issues that pop up with that kind of stuff. Cat. Why is there a cat here? Where are the rest of the cats? And fantasy leans into a lot of, like... well, I guess they do deal with a lot of similar things, but there's a lot of, like, racial issues that come up in fantasy that are much... they're very clearly labeled racial issues. Because it's usually like, dwarves and elves hate each other, somebody argues, there's a generational war. Something like that is usually pretty prevalent. That happens a lot in sci-fi too, but there's a lot of, like, colonizing worlds issues that also come up with it. It's basically the sides of the same coin, but it's interesting that they tackle different parts of it. Which is really to say that sci-fi and fantasy have never been that far apart. They just have different angles. Yeah, they just come at it from different angles, yes. It's also why I think it's really funny when there's purists about sci-fi or fantasy where they really go like, no, you can't do that. This is a fantasy story. And I'm like, I'm sorry somebody put sci-fi in your fantasy and you hate the taste of it, but it's a tasty, tasty treat. Get over it. You're gonna get a much better story out of this than you would if it was just straight up sci-fi or fantasy. If I just go slow, I'm not gonna go slower. Hi, Reddies. I need my brain power wash, please. I can do that. Probably. You have, well, hold on, wait, do I power wash my own brain first and then do I do other people's, or do I do other people first and then my brain? Not gonna lie, I often don't like magic in my science. That's okay, you don't have to like magic in your science, but I think understanding that there's a sort of mysticism to technology is something that more sci-fi writers need to embrace sometimes, because if I, in this era, can look at my computer, do something, and go, that's black magic, I don't understand what happened. I asked the orb to tell me something, and the orb has told me visions of the past that I did not comprehend. It's still magic in a way. And it's really more so about the tropes. Yeah, no, no. So, there's a series, well, I think it was only maybe a couple books. I don't know if it was a true series or if it was just like one-off book that then got a sequel because a lot of people read it. There was one that was truly sci-fi fantasy, like with the slash in the middle. It basically was somebody in a spaceship and then somebody who was learning magic, and the storyline alternated between them because they'd learned how to contact each other. I don't remember the name of my book. My dad 100% does, because he was the one that was reading it. And it goes back and forth between the two, and as much as I found it fascinating, I think it was a little bit too on the nose of like, yeah, this wizard's gonna make this tower fly into space so that he can visit his sci-fi bestie. I was like, maybe this is too far. This is a little bit too far. Yeah, Star Wars has a little bit of magic to it, but Star Wars is also basically a fantasy, an epic fantasy that decided to use spaceships. God forbid a wizard visit a friend. Yeah. Word up, people. Caldera County's premium power wash is back up and running, so if your grubby house brings stink eye from the neighbors or every trip in the car feels like a walk of shame, hit us up. Hi, Camilla. I don't remember any of your names. Warhammer 40k sci-fi fantasy. Yes, and I love the orcs and I want to hug them. And also, Warhammer 40k came up in this because of the portion of the 40k fan base that is pretty openly fascist and horrible. And how the rest of the community has basically spent so much time going, we're not them. And how, is it Game Workshops is the company behind it? It goes all the time of, they're not ours. Constantly, over and over. But the same thing happens in, like, D&D. Like, there's no nerd fandom that is exempt from this. I'm not saying it's always fascist, but I am saying that there's always assholes that are out there saying things that nobody else agrees with, and everybody has to collectively go, not our monkeys, not our circus, they're here, we keep telling them to leave. Unfortunately, they can't read, so they ignore the signs. Monkeys, not chickens? No, it can be chickens too. Chickens are also stubborn about being in places that they shouldn't be. Something you gotta deal with. Sometimes people identify with the villain. Yeah. It happens for both sides. We've talked about this before, about the number of villains in older media that are more openly queer because that was the only place that the queer identity could be displayed. It goes both ways. It's not just that, oh, only the queers have ever been villainized. No, everybody gets villainized at some point in some way. Somebody's gonna see themselves in the villain. It's just how you deal with being seen as the villain. If you look at the villain and then go, yeah, we do gotta destroy all this stuff and ruin all these other people's lives, maybe you need to take a harder look at yourself and think about what you're saying. I'm not saying it will fix you, but maybe you'll learn something about yourself. I love how some Chaos Space Marines are just straight up cartoonishly evil for the sake of being evil, but when you make a religious zealot faction and pump it full of satire, eventually someone's not seeing satire and agrees with the satire. Well, they actually talk about this in this book, which if you're interested in sci-fi and fantasy, I would actually really recommend it. There's like a bajillion references in this. Hold on. Where's the... Nope, that's... Okay. The introductory chapter, which is 25 pages, has 105 citations. What book are we talking about? It's called Speculative Whiteness, which is about science fiction and the alt-right. Hold on, let me look at chapter 1. Chapter 1, which is about 40 pages, has 158 citations. Chapter 2, which is about 40 pages, has 166. The conclusion, which is a grand total of 4.5 pages, has 7. Like, there is so much in here, and it's so fascinating the number of places that Jordan S. Carroll goes to look for answers. They mention all sorts of things. I need you to understand this. I need you to understand the whiplash I got when I was reading through the introduction, and literally one of the points about Dune, or no, not even about Dune, it was about Warhammer, literally was about the memes of Donald Trump and some of his campaign staff from his first presidency as Warhammer 40k characters. And it has a Know Your Meme reference as one of the citations. Like, I need you to know what sort of emotional whiplash that does to you on a Tuesday. There's a whole bunch of like web archive links as well. Like, this author knew what they were doing when they were adding all these citations. They knew that some of the stuff was going to go away. There's Patreon posts of like public essays that are in there. Like, there's so much stuff. I'm probably going to end up having to make like a to read pile from some of this to go through some of the references that they added so that I can get a more holistic picture, because it's a very overview sort of book about the issue at large, and the issue at large is a very large issue. And again, it was one of those moments for me where I am aware of how biased sci-fi has been for many, many years. I didn't really think too deeply into it, except that I knew that I wanted to read more varied authors within sci-fi. And that those authors within sci-fi have very fantastic stories with all sorts of perspective that a white man could just never get to. The number of queer authors that have written queer characters that deal with, like, post-humanism, like becoming cyborg, becoming robot, becoming other, wonderful. You will almost never see some of the most stereotypical authors tackle those issues in a way that is other than like making them so foreign that they are either not human anymore or something else. It's amazing. Anyways, read books, have good times. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I think I want to be a bee. No, I can't talk about bees for too long because then all of chat's gonna want to talk about bees, and then we have bees as a banned term. Now I'm just saying bees because it sounds fun. But I would 100% recommend the other book that I just read, The Honeys. It is a horror book. Well, okay, it was pitched to me as a horror book. It is not a horror book. Well, okay, hold on. Hold on. I'm gonna back that up. I'm gonna retract part of that. It's not really that horror of a book until, like, the last 2 sections. So, like, the last 120 pages. And that's when you get into more of, like, the body horror, magical realism end of the book that left me feeling a kind of way. Because that book also doesn't leave me feeling happy about the world. But I did like the choice that the main character made towards the end. And I won't say it because I don't want to spoil it and I want more people to read books. It was a good book. I liked the author. I saw somebody talk about... And this is something that comes up often, and sometimes I will agree, and sometimes I will disagree with people talking about it in, like, comments. Somebody that reviewed the book said that the discussion of gender and sexuality was a little bit too on the nose. And there have been some books where I will agree, where they put the conversation about gender and sexuality very clinically. Not actually clinically, but they put it in almost clinical terms when they're talking about it, and the way the descriptions that they use are very, like, standard. And again, it's not a bad thing, but it's very on the nose, and it can be a little bit annoying. And I will say that as far as I am concerned with this book, the discussion about gender and sexuality in this book was fine. It didn't really, like, annoy me. It didn't make me feel frustrated with, like, the way that they were, like, hand-holding your way through it. It was really about, like, where you were in the moment. Okay, that also needs to be cleaned. I will get there eventually. Also, weird ideas about bugs and how they function in horror settings and eldritch beings. So 10 out of 10 would read again. And then I looked at my to-read pile, and then I realized that I put the 2 bug books back to back. So now I'm going to go read another book about bugs. And I'm sure it will be fine. LED headlights suck? Yes, they suck complete ass. And I want to murder every truck driver who drives behind me whose headlights are at my eye level and they blind me. I will get them, and I will get them. I will get them. I feel like the hand-holding is also just because part of sci-fi and fantasy writing, you can't assume as a writer that the reader knows the tropes they're going to use or whatever. No, I do understand that, and that's why I don't really take it to heart that much, because... Why are you pointing at the floor? I understand that the floor is dirty. You don't have to point at it. For some of them, I understand. Like, in some books where they're exploring something a little bit more unusual in terms of, like, identity, that crosses over into using some of, like, talking more technically about things, I definitely understand. But there's some times where they just get really, like... Again, I don't know a better word other than, like, clinical. And it's just weird. And it feels forced into the dialogue. Really, my arguments are that it does not feel like natural dialogue or natural conversation. It's like forced conversation, and then I sit there and I go, that's not how people talk, though. That's not even how people talk here, because this sentence 4 pages ago was very natural and very normal. This one is very kind of stilted. So I kind of just let it roll off my back most of the time. Or they feel that's the worst one. The fourth wall break to explain sexuality or gender, and I'm like, no, you don't need to do this. Just let it be part of the natural conversation. You can make this sound like a conversation. I believe in you, author. You've done normal conversations before. You are, in fact, a regular guy and or gal. You can write a sentence, maybe. Meow. Me write a normal conversation? Never. I steal conversations from myself. I write down sometimes the way that I will say things. Actually, that's not even true. I've done some things where I will say things out loud and then listen to myself say it back. Because I can't ever think about how I say sentences until I try to say the sentence, and then I try to, like, almost transcribe the punctuation that I use sometimes. It's very funny when I do that. I cannot string together a coherent thought, ever. I, like Foolish, sometimes open my mouth to say something and then get lost halfway through a sentence and go, don't know how I got here, but this is now the point I'm making. I can only write conversations where everyone is trying to pretend they're a regular person. They're a regular guy. I just hate that extended to any topic. If something is common knowledge in the books world, I do not want to explain to me in full terms like that. I want it integrated in. I mean, this is the other, like, the trope of many... Hold on, this bag is in the way. The trope of many sci-fi and fantasy stories is that the main character... Well, not even stories. Video games. The trope of many video games is that you lose your memory. And either you regain your memory as part of the tutorial process, or it's part of the plot that spurs you on to figuring out what's going on in the world. And they use that as a means in order to make the character and the player's perspective almost the same, i.e. they know nothing about the world. And that works sometimes. It does not work all of the time. Okay, what am I... Oh, I see. I did it. Now there's a tire that I did not clean effectively. Nope, wrong button. How did I not get these tires clean? I'm a failure. Just kidding, I'm not a failure. Is this Muckingham's premier power washer? Rinse and repeat? Is my name Rinse and Repeat? Greetings from Detergento, where we need you to cleanse. Okay, okay, okay. Ooh. I like how I disappeared to the middle for a while. And then I'm on the roof. Wonderful. Jessie is enthralled by her sparkling removals van. She said she'll give you first dibs on any furniture she comes across, so keep an eye out for any new items appearing in the shop. Okay. Go to home base. Have safe drives, Wooloo. Can I buy furniture? Can I have furniture? Furniture? I need more money. How do I put the whimsical, how do I, tab? Oh my god. Whimsical. Ew, why is it dirty? Why do I have to power wash the couch? I guess I'm the right person to do this, but why am I such a filthy couch? I'm not very good at shopping, guys. What was I talking about? Oh. Treating your audience right in stories is such a hard thing, and I feel like that's a thing that many authors currently struggle with. I don't know why. There's a couple of authors that are really good at it, but there's a lot of authors that I have read something from that are recent, and I'm like, why are you treating me like I'm 5? You don't have to explain this to me. Give me a map, let me not know where I am in the world, and let me figure it out. Let me learn. I'm not gonna lie, when I come upon situations like that in stories, if they start explaining something to me that is what I consider pretty basic, that I can probably discern from the reading of other parts of the book, I do just sometimes skip the paragraph or paragraphs of description that I don't want to read because I feel like it adds nothing and makes my experience worse. I want to be lost sometimes in what makes a world, and if I get really lost, I'll go back and reread a paragraph a few times and then go ask somebody on Reddit if they understood what happened. And 20 times out of 20, they'll know. They can explain it to me. I do that all the time on accident, mostly because I like explaining things. Well, it's the show don't tell rules. I cleaned it. Pick up. Hold on. I have an idea. Why is it now? Can you? Nope. Okay. If you want to enter my shop, you must face the couch. If you want to get it, hold on, I can make this better. Oh, let me put it too close. You have to. This is where I wait for my customers. I just sit here. Waiting. It's fine. I'm normal. The single best advice I ever got in any creative class was to just stop explaining things. So, Zier, I have a secret hack for you. And by secret hack for you, this is not a secret hack at all. It is just my favorite hack that anybody has ever given me. Because I do this too. I will over-explain and, like, basically overwrite in general. Like, my introductions are generally 3 paragraphs too long. And if I cut the first 3 paragraphs that I actually write and I start at that 4th paragraph, it's actually the right starting point 95% of the time. Give or take a paragraph, but, you know, it is what it is. When you want to explain something, do it, mark it, And then when you edit, remove it. Because there's nothing worse that you can do for yourself than not let yourself explore the thing. Sometimes doing those first 3 paragraphs or those extra sentences or that extra like page of description helps you process what it is that you want to say. What the fuck is that? Thing happened to us the other day when I asked my colleague to do a deep dive inventory in our public facilities. We found schematics for revolutionary convenience installed in 2003, but then almost immediately forgotten about and assumed to be a bench. Okay. But if you write it and then you cut it, you will at least have had the opportunity to do it. What? It was over on the bench? Apparently. The bench is open. Should I be scared of this bench? Not bench? This thing? Should be a nice quick job, eh? Well, you said that it's not a bench, so I'm assuming there's something underneath this. It's gonna pop up out of the ground. Can I be standing on top of it when it does that? Because I think that would be funny. Especially since this says roof sign on it. So I think that's the top. Launch to space. Can I go? Can I visit the astronauts on the Artemis 2? I want to be on the Integrity ship. I want to go. I'm still gonna cry about the crater naming that they did the other day. When they finally reached the space record and the one guy named it after his wife that passed away. I was almost crying at work. I'm normal. I'm not. And then I'm not gonna lie, because her name was Carol, I did for a moment, an entire moment, just imagine Carol, the TTS, on a crater on the moon, just saying the word MILF in the vast emptiness of space, and then I almost cried laughing. But I had to do that later because I thought about it, almost laughed, and then went, this person in this room is not going to understand me almost laughing at that. I don't know how to explain that to them. A lot of it for me was explicitly writing characters interpreting other characters' actions and words, which resulted in over-explaining just about everything. Yeah, Bebos. There's a lot of, like, learning... Well, okay, ironically, in you trying to figure all that out, there's a lot of, like, learning how to pretend to be a human. Again, the author of Fight Club has that book, Consider This, that I also finished recently-ish in the last couple weeks. And he talks about how sometimes when you ask people questions in real life, people won't answer those questions directly. They'll answer them with something else. But a lot of writers... But a lot of writers in writing question and answer sections where, like, somebody's asking something to somebody and they're giving an answer, the person answering just explains it out loud. They're like, this is what I was feeling, this is what I was doing. No. Because that's not how you talk to people a lot of the time. I'm not saying that there aren't some people in your life that you probably go, yeah, I was feeling really terrible, so I did X, Y, and Z. But if you did something mischievous and somebody asks, why is this over here? You're not going to answer. You're going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. Or some other lie to get away from it. And so it's learning how to take that natural cadence of conversation and turn it into something else. And I hate that I say this, I always think about Homestuck in terms of, like, conversation, because I know for a fact that Andrew Hussey has talked about, I think in the zine that I had, he talks about how some of the conversations that are from Homestuck are quite literally pretty much just chat logs from his friends or from people that he knew. It's not completely verbatim. Obviously, there's been some, like, care and consideration put into what was eventually published, but there's a vast majority of the stuff that was written down that he's like, this is the natural cadence of an online conversation. You have a friend that says this, you have a friend that says that, cat. And then you string these thoughts together and they happen kind of out of order sometimes. I'm at 7%. Why are you telling me that I only have the roof to do? That's not ominous. And I'm not saying that you should record the conversations you have with friends, but if you're having a pretty mundane conversation with people and you ask, like, hey, can I record this to listen to later? You can hear some of that, like, give and take. That isn't what you do when you write, because a lot of writers want to explain the problems and get the story going in such a way, but people don't talk like they're in a story. And you can make some of your conversations much more compelling if you learn how to weave that realism in. Not always. Sometimes you need something a little bit unrealistic. But it's that observation of human nature that will elevate things further. Maybe the roof is 90%. Well, it is almost 15% now, so that's a little bit weird. I like to think I'm okay at that part. The thing I miss the most is that I don't have to give every thought of the POV character has, even if we have access to their thoughts. I can just let them show that they're thinking through what they do or say. Let them be contradictory. Let them be ridiculous. Let them do things that make no sense and then say the opposite just a page later. Normalize untrustworthy main characters. Normalize lying to people that ask about what the character's feeling. You should add D's nuts jokes to your dialogue. Okay, you know, for the realism. Okay. I'm gonna take my high fantasy story, I'm gonna add at least one D's nuts joke. A lot of YA novels I have read have very awkward interactions that feel unnatural. The YA genre gets into an interesting, weird place because kids have a lot of, like, room for a lot of reading in their lives. So there's a lot of YA books out there. And sometimes, in mass-producing books, they just don't give them a real good edit. And there's some lines, I've read some books that I just set down, because I was like, I don't like this. I am uncomfortable, and it feels weird. I don't want it. Sometimes that is good for a story. Can I stay on top? I'm going to space. Oh. I didn't go to space. What is it? What is? What is? Do I have to... outer wall? What are you? Gas station? Oh my god, I love this commercial for... not commercial, advertisement for this movie. Sorry. It was the Here We Woof Again really got me. What is this dog? PowerWash services were camped out in the middle of nowhere in a heap of filthy trouble. Can you help? Not right now. I'm too busy laughing at this ad. Driving me barking. Here we woof again. It's a car that's a dog. Okay. I love deceptive and contradictory characters. I love deceptive characters that present themselves one way, and the audience is expected to look at them one way, and then the story just very quietly goes no in the middle of the book. And suddenly you have no idea what anybody's deal is, you just know that everybody's being weird. Okay, I don't know where to start, so we're gonna start here. Actually, we're gonna start up here. I want to do the top first. I love a story that gives me a last 100 or 50 pages twist and just goes, you thought you understood what was going to happen at the end of this? No. No, you do not. What's his face from 1984? I need to reread that book. I never got around to rereading it, and I need to reread it. Because I want to revisit that twist. Because the twist at the end of Honey's got me. Like, I figured some of it once some of the other twists were revealed. I was like, oh, well, they want to do X, Y, and Z. But then I didn't realize... I thought the main character was going to hold out. And there is no satisfying actual conclusion in a way that I both love and detest. It ends, and I feel unhappy. Which Vita Nostra also did. Vita Nostra, well, it doesn't end unhappily. It ends ambiguously. And I kind of want to buy a copy of that book just so that I can reread it every couple months and then think about real hard. Because it was certainly an ending. And it was certainly a twist. Which one is that? So Vita Nostra is like if you took the Magician series, condensed it down to one book, and instead of making it outright fantasy, it's magical realism. And it's good. It's very weird, but it's very good. Have you seen the trailer for Animal Farm? Oh my god, wait, no, they're making an Animal Farm movie? Oh no. Well, haven't they made one before? Is there a new one that's coming out? Oh, I hate the pictures. I don't know how I feel about those pictures. Why is this one? Oh, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know how I feel about this. I remember reading Animal Farm. This is probably another book that I need to go back and reread because I haven't read it in a hot second. I feel like we do need more exposure to the story of Animal Farm right now, but also maybe like we need to just read the book. Maybe. I feel like maybe that might be more helpful, depending on how bad this turns out. Can we make a new 1984, or do you think everybody would get too mad about that one? I also really hate that there is now more sludge on the ground than when I originally cleaned it, because of course there's more sludge on the ground now. The allegory is a bit strong for my taste. It is, it's pretty strong. But I think maybe a couple people could get something useful from it. How do I just convince more people to start reading again? I say that like I didn't just get a text from a friend that was like, books, recommend, please. Actually, did they text back? Sorry, they'd sent me several text messages, but the first sentence of the other one was like, I'm not really trying to think. Okay. I can find recommendations for them later. I have to remember what books they liked. And then go look at my shelf and be like, what books do I remember liking? Just seems a product of its time, you know? It definitely is, and I would argue that sometimes it is really important and valuable for people to understand the products of all those times that came before us. I feel like there is a lot of media that has come out in our era that was heavily influenced by works like 1984, like Animal Farm, like all these other books that have been out there. And so I would want more people to read it just for the sake of having that foundational knowledge to go into other more recent works. And I think that's maybe where I lose some people, is I'll recommend all these older books and then they'll be like, yeah, but this doesn't like apply to anything. And I'm like, it does. I'm not capable of reading. I'm a gamer. Okay, so there's this game. There's this game, Woo. What's it called? What's the game with the choices where the publisher turned out to be terrible and took money away from the game people? And now the actual company that made the game tells them to pirate it. No, it's not Telltale. It has the old man. Disco Elysium. Yeah, go play Disco Elysium. You'll get a lot of stuff out of that one. No? Okay, well, I've done what I could. That's not true. I could just play the games on stream and then force you to watch them. While I make D's nuts jokes in the background. But I do think the idea of like required reading for things in the modern era is something that more people should feel more open to, because I feel like in terms of, although we've talked about this before too, there's a literacy crisis. There's a literacy crisis. A lot of people just aren't reading and reading deeply into the things that they're reading. So you get a lot of like people just not getting the point of a story because they don't understand what it's trying to tell them. And I feel like for a vast majority of those people, if they understood the quote-unquote required reading, the games that came before, the movies that came before, the books that came before, they would have a better chance of understanding it. Designed by local visionary Nadia Vonnegut, the pop-up restroom was designed to only appear when needed. Relying on state-of-the-art camera systems and kinetic motion sensors buried deep within the sidewalk, it would detect from the gate of passerbys when relief was required and pop up in the nick of time. Oftentimes it knew even before they did. You telling me this bathroom is psychic? What if you get stuck in it? Skishu, I think. at this point it's a literacy crisis, but it unironically is. There's a lot of interesting things around literacy that are going on that go beyond like media literacy to legitimately just people are using text to speech, or no, not text to speech. They're using speech to text so often that there are homophones that they are misunderstanding and phrases that they are not understanding like the components of. They only understand it as a functional part of their language, not as the pieces of what it was and what came before it. And so they lose out on some of the context of it, which I do also think is really fascinating in terms of like the number of words that have like cycled back around. Like chud right now is getting used in the same context of things like unk and things like that, but chud has had other meanings before, and we've just elected to, in the year 2026, throw that meaning that was originally used literally out the door. Chud is a good thing? No. I also think I'm using unk in an antiquated way now, but I mean antiquated in like I am referring to what I knew it as meaning 6 months ago. Our language is literally moving so fast that it is impossible to keep up with it unless you are literally studying it every day of the week. What did it mean 6 months ago? Unk? Not unk? No. Well, okay, chud used to refer to... Hold on, let me make sure that I'm not mixing up what chud used to mean. That is not what I meant. Nope, this is a 2025 meaning. I want... Okay, the examples that it's giving me are from 2025 in 1984, and I know that there was a usage from like 2020 that is slightly different. And I think it used to be more political. And I know the 1984 one is from a sci-fi movie, but it meant something else in the interim. This is what it was. Okay, so 1984. I will go find the actual like thing that it used to say, but it was a term from a movie. It was also, I think, a different word then. Around 2020, it was used for alt-right bigots. And then it got transformed like 2 years ago-ish into like idiot, which I'm fine with. But it's one of those things of like the language is moving so quickly that we're losing out on some of that original context. Pretty sure it meant meathead or like jock pre-1984. That's entirely possible. So maybe we just circled around somehow to something. I don't know. It's interesting, but it's like weird and fascinating to watch language progression in this era where it literally goes so fast. You start using a word from 2 years ago, you're labeled as old. Has unk also meant something in the past? It's transformed. Unk is... I don't know where it is right now, actually. I don't know. But it had like a negative positive flip. Where it was like you're unk. Like you're the uncle. And then it was kind of like negative. And then it flipped around to like a positive connotation. Which is what language does all the time, but it did it really fast. Like, I felt like I blinked. And people were like, no, it's fine, you're unk. But like, and they were meaning it in a positive way. And I was like, I feel like last week you were saying that at people and you meant it mean. What do you want? It might have been from all the unks going, no, 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 I'm embracing the unk status, and then they started using it positively. I still think of it in a mean way. I rarely anymore see people actually being labeled as unk in a mean way. It's generally like teasing at this point. And it is rooted in AAVE. I love learning what unk means right now because I've heard it a couple times, but I'm so bad at knowing any slang ever. It's hard. It's hard to keep up with slang in this era. The other thing as well is that a lot of slang, especially on the internet, comes from AAVE, which then gets into this place of like, how do you navigate this respectfully? Of using words without misappropriating them, without being a dick about it, without being ignorant, like just being straight up ignorant. And then it feels like you almost need a linguistic degree sometimes to be studying all the things that are going on with the internet, and you're like, I don't know what's happening. Ugh. I didn't like that. Why'd you open? Ew! Gross. Why is there still more? The changed word that always comes to mind is dumb. Yeah. Used to mean mute? Yeah. Wait, really? Yeah. Hold on. Let's go define dumb. Give me Merriam-Webster. Doop-doo. Yeah, from Middle English, so that tells you about how old, it just means mute. I'm sorry, they're just like pulling stuff off of the internet for examples, and I hate that. I was trying to see if they had more about the etymology. Hold on. I want the etymology of dumb. What a sentence. Etymology of dumb. Yeah. There's some like combined instances of things where like in Old English and Middle English it meant mute. And there's a Gothic use of it that was mute, and then there's similar words in Dutch and German that now mean stupid that are also dumb. And it is interesting somehow sometimes the way that things combine, where like you have enough people in one region that are speaking one language and it sounds like a word from another that is right next door, and then it just slowly combines, gets used interchangeably. It's language out. Fascinating. I just hit my microphone. I'm so sorry. How did omelet get to where it is? Omelet is just French. You can blame the French. And I'm also not gonna go look up the etymology of omelet for you. Go look it up yourself. Go look up the etymology of omelet and see what the internet tells you. Oh, so this time I can blame the French. Yes. And only this time. Random, but did you know ancient Greeks had a version of sign language? So did Native Americans. I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like there were a lot of regions that had something to communicate without being noisy. Whether or not it was used for people that were mute, or not is, I don't know, would be interesting to also look at and see if we can track down any sort of records, but then again, if you go back far enough, there are no records. Except for that one guy that's angry about copper. I love those tablets. I love that that man kept those tablets long enough for them to be fired accidentally in a fire. What? You don't know about this? Okay, so one of our first instances of, one of our first examples of written language are the cuneiform tablets that are a complaint tablet. It is literally, documents a transaction in which, I cannot say his name, a trader allegedly sold substandard copper to a customer named Nani. Nani, dissatisfied with the quality, wrote a cuneiform complaint addressing the poor service and mistreatment of his servant. The assumption is that these were kept because the person that received the complaints was so amused by them that they just kept them. Because the entire point of tablets at that point in time, which was, what era was it? 1750 BCE. The point was is that you would use these clay tablets to send a message, and then the tablets could be cleared, essentially. Like, you'd just, like, smooth them out again. You'd remake them so you could use them again to send more messages. But this person kept them, and it is assumed that they kept them long enough for a fire to happen within the building where they were kept, and so they were fired and they became hardened. And then they were preserved, basically, for us to find in the future. So, that's always fun. On the topic of AAVE, I wonder if I'm allowed to say these things in the first place. That's the whole thing, is, like, I am not going to go out of my way to go listen to somebody who speaks with AAVE and take those words from them. Never what I want to do. I'm not here to just start picking up somebody else's way of speaking and say, like, this is mine now. That would be wrong for me to do. However, when AAVE terms reach the mainstream, when you have people like Joe Bart saying them, is it okay then? Is it not okay then? And those are the moral quandaries that you have to ask yourself at midnight when you're laying in bed. Butterfly. Sorry, I saw a butterfly. And think really hard about how you want to proceed with them. And I will say this, I don't know the answers. I don't know what's the right answer. I've listened to a lot of people of color and a lot of African Americans talk about this, and I still don't know the answer. Because a lot of them have had very different answers for the question. Some are like, if you are not black and you're using AVE, you're in the wrong. Some of them are like, I don't care. So it's a tough question to figure out the answer to, because there isn't an answer. There is no uniform answer that everybody agrees with. There's just a lot of people going, well, I just don't want to upset people. Okay, no, Wu is correct. The answer is 42. I will say that for just about every word, and this happens a lot with other things too, there's a lot of, well, actually, hold on, no, the gay men are sometimes the problem with AAVE, because what happens is that queer people of color use a term around white gay men, and then the white gay men start using it, and then it just keeps going. It just keeps going. And so it's hard. It's hard to figure out the right answer too, and there's a lot of communities that will have smaller situations with this. Hyper-specific terms that are important to specific communities, and they feel a way about them, and there is no right answer. There is no right answer. I think that as long as you are being respectful and you're not using words maliciously, you can sometimes be in the right about using some terms in the right context. I think that there are a lot of times that you cannot get away with it at all, and that you shouldn't be using some of those terms. I think it also depends if it's actually being used according to the grammar of AAVE. I don't know if the grammar rules that much into it, in my opinion. I stay away from using a lot of AAVE except where it has become part of internet slang. There are some points where something is so internet slang that it's even lost a lot of its original meaning, and at that point I'm like, in this context I can use this word. Is gamer offensive yet? Sometimes. In the right context, yes. Another word that changed, the Spanish word gringo. How did that one change? Because I think I've seen it used differently throughout the years. Because it means, well, I've known it as meaning a white person. Usually derogatorily. No? What does it mean? What does it actually mean? Why is it used for white people now? Should I be afraid? Literally translates to foreigner? Okay, that would make more sense. That would make more sense. But people today use it like you said. Yeah, because that was the only context that I knew it in. Interesting. We are learning today. That wasn't the button I wanted. Huh. Sometimes it's with love, but I think that's just how people choose to use it. There's a lot of power to the intent of words. And again, this gets into, I think that there's a lot of younger people on the internet that are media illiterate specifically because they don't think about the further context of words beyond just the meaning that you can find on dictionary.com. Because I have seen a number of people get upset at other people on the internet for using a word, and I'm like, okay, I need you to tell me the other 5 definitions of this word. Because I think you're getting upset about a perceived usage very specifically, and that is not what they meant. Or Urban Dictionary. Oh my god, Urban Dictionary is the worst because that one's just full of nonsense. At least dragons haven't changed. They have changed. The designs of dragons have changed over many years. Also, Dragon D's nuts. Sorry. Hi, Woo. You and I had the same brain cell. Doesn't help that cancel culture can happen with everything. Okay, well, first of all... Well... I don't like saying that sentence because then I sound like other people on the internet that I do not identify with. But I will say that I do think that cancel culture as it exists right now is just the same blame game that we've been playing on the internet for a while, amped up 100 degrees, and it's not really real, even though people really want it to be real. So you hate pancakes? Yes, I hate pancakes. Greek word drakon means giant sea fish. Yeah! It's just begrate. I can't say words. Brigading, I feel. It is. What used to be I can't say that. Brigading on different parts of the internet in ye olden days, aka when I was younger, turned into what is internet cancel culture now. And a lot of people have co-opted it into a machine to destroy people for literally nothing. Every now and then they go after somebody for good reason, but 9 times out of 10 now it's nonsense. Don't get me started on lesbian discourse and people citing the dictionary definition of lesbian to prove their point about excluding genderqueer lesbians. Yeah, there's a lot to do with that I absolutely hate. I also recently... Okay, I'm gonna say a sentence. Everybody understands what gold star lesbians are? Does everybody understand, or do I need to explain? Nope. No? Okay, I saw even just one no, which means I will explain. Okay. So, gold star lesbian is a lesbian that has never slept with a man. Ever. The idea is never touched a man. I recently became aware of, I think it was, I don't remember if it was gold star or if they'd made a star above that. Not for lesbians, but for gay men that had been born via C-section. Don't know why that existed. Found out people on the internet had that thought and were like, I've never touched a vagina ever in my lifetime. And I was like, so happy for you, bud. Hi, Butter. We're talking about etymology and weird words. And the way that language keeps evolving. Sometimes horrifically. But this is what I mean by language keeps doing weird things and people keep brigading weird things. We use our language with very intentional ways sometimes, and people will go out there and be like, I'm a gold star lesbian. I'm a gold star gay man, or platinum star gay man, whatever that is. Everybody is looking for labels in order to help them identify themselves as an in-group or an out-group. That is just, like, sociologically how we exist. We want to be in an in-group. We make the in-group sometimes. Not saying it's good, not saying it's bad, just saying we keep doing this. I stand on the changing table. The butterflies getting into this are really confusing me. People do anything to separate themselves into groups? Yes.
Hello, Twader and Rats.
Hello.
Quizilla would be 24 years old this year.
Quizilla's been able to drink for 3 years? What? What? Quizilla? Oh no. No. Oh god. I bet. Oop. I once saw a radfem lesbian take that was so absurd. Can't repeat it here because not safe for work, but it spawned the sentence, ladies, is it heterosexual to have sex with women? Okay, no, but that keeps coming up. Okay, hold on. No, we can talk about how there's a lot of manosphere men that basically are probably gay and will outright say that sleeping with women is the most homosexual thing you can do. And I don't know what to do with them, but they're out there. People are weird. This wall is not clean. This wall is now clean. Either it was a website that hosted more than just quizzes. I guess you could say it was essentially one of the things that were kind of like AO3. Okay, so Quizilla started out, you know the UQuiz website, Aether? Now, if you imagine somebody took UQuiz and said, I could put my fan fiction here. That was basically what happened to Quizilla. This is not a joke. Hey Ziploc, have you ever read Goblin Market? No, but I have seen it and I want to read it. I saw it at the store the other day when I was staring at books in the bookstore, and I went, I would like to read Goblin Market, and then I went, I don't need another book, and then I left. Also, Goblin D's nuts. Sorry. Sorry. Hold on. Actually, let me put this on hold at my library very quickly so that I don't keep forgetting it and I remember it and then I eventually get it. And then, how many holds do I have at the library now? 22. We won't talk about the 3 that are waiting for me and the 5 that are currently in transit. I don't know what you're talking about. Victorian lesbians? Love Victorian lesbians. Ooh. Thinking about how doctors had to ask, do you have sex with men rather than are you homosexual, because there are men who identify as heterosexual but who have sex with men, which is fine. I just kind of find it funny. Yeah. Well, yeah, for thousands of years that was considered normal and there was no word for it. Yeah. We keep changing and evolving, and linguistically at this point, we are evolving at such a fast pace that I feel ill-equipped to continue to exist as an online person. Like, honestly, like, as much time as I spend online and as much slang as I throw around that you guys have heard me use, I am ill-equipped at this point to exist as an online human being. I will have indeed reached the status of old man yelling at cloud.
D's.
I'm going to find time. I'm going to find time. Time? I'm on my way. Press the window key? No.
Bebos.
Bebos. Reminds me how my doctor had to ask, do you have sex with someone who could get you pregnant because I'm gay? I've had to have that conversation with doctors before. It was like, no. No. They're like, are you sure you can't be pregnant? And I'm like, extremely sure. I'm fine. For a myriad of reasons, I am extremely sure that I am fine. Of course it changes, because I don't really care about the gender of partners, but there was a year where they would just be like, are you sure? And I'm like, yes. Does not plural not go through Carol TTS? Well, if you said something else in there, if you use enough swear words, she doesn't like it. Also, sometimes she just eats messages. She just ate that one. She apparently does not like it. My first visit to the IVF place, they asked if my partner needed fertility testing. I think there's a different problem there. I think it should be self-explanatory. But it is nice that they asked. It's better that they ask and it be funny.
Snack for Carol.
Oh, hello. It's better that they ask and it be a silly moment than not ask at all. Streamer, do you want a horror story? Does it involve bees? I'm just thinking about the honeys still, sorry. That book will live in my brain. It's also a fun one for me being both trans and infertile, but also being disabled. Whether or not I get asked is hit or miss. Yeah. Every time a doctor asks me the whole, do you do drugs, do you do alcohol, do you sex, and I answer all three of them, I always feel like I should say, imagine the most boring person alive. No, they just want to know because it can change some stuff. It can change some of the tests that they want to do and things like that. They need to know for those reasons. They're not ever judging you. Reminds me of when I was deliriously ill and the doctor asked if I used birth control / contraceptives, and my dehydrated, dying ace brain said no, and my mother had to stop me there and clarify. Someone cooked after I left for work and didn't turn off the burner. I was the one who noticed it was on after my shift. Ooh. Woo, how is your house not burned down? Can't remember what I've been asked about sex life shit when it comes to doctor's appointments. They'll generally just ask if you're sexually active. When I had my second ankle surgery, the nurse straight up didn't believe that there was 0 chance I could be pregnant. I still wasn't able to pee for the pregnancy test because no food / water before surgery, so we just wasted a half hour. Sometimes they'll let you sign a release form that says that, like, I'm not doing the test. Absolutely. Trying to explain to people that yes, lesbians use birth control sometimes just breaks normie brains. That's because birth control isn't just birth control. I don't know how to explain that to people, but it's not just about birth, it's about many other factors of life. Conduction burners scorched and there are signs of fire starting from grease drippings from the range trap. Ooh, your house is gonna light on fire. He also asked me how many kids right before, not if I had any. How many? What? How do I punch somebody that I don't know and I'm nowhere near and who does not know me? Oop, sorry. Also, if you live somewhere in the US and do weed in a state, it's not legal. Please tell your doctor they cannot report you. It's important. Oh no, this is... Hold on. I will expand on this. If you do drugs at all of any kind and your doctor or an EMT is asking you about drugs, you tell them. It will quite literally save your life. You do not lie about the drugs to your doctor or the EMTs. You tell them everything they need to know. You do not tell the cops shit, you tell the doctors everything. Also, don't take random pills that people hand you. Not that I think you guys are doing that, I just keep hearing horror stories of people at, like, raves and shit doing things like taking random pills from people, and I want to shake them. The cops are bastards. 236 plus 5. Thank you, time. Or not time, woo. They're both yellow. I have a question that came up in my communication class. Is it okay to lie on a resume? Well, see, this is where it gets into a really interesting territory of, I think it is okay to white lie on your resume. If you know the basics of a program or know that you could learn a program really easily, you can lie and say you know that program, and then you can spend your after hours Googling how to actually make that program run the way that you need it to. I think that is an acceptable lie to put on your resume. Do I think that you should lie about the previous positions you've held? No. nor your qualifications, nor anything that is easily disprovable. My teacher was aghast that we're so chill about lying on resumes. She immediately thought about doctors and shit. Yeah, but it's not doctors and shit that are lying on their resume about stuff. It is people who are being told that they are underqualified for office jobs that they are absolutely qualified enough to do, because you don't need all of the qualifications in the world to do about 90% of office jobs. There are so many positions that I know people could learn if they just had like 2 hours, Google, and access to that program. Ceiling time. The hinge is dirty? Okay. Become unhinged. Okay, I fixed it. I got put on a medication where the doctor didn't check I didn't drink because, once again, being assumed I'm disabled and boring, I guess. I found out on complete accident, looking up some other side effects, that this medication is highly reactive with alcohol, and as little as 2 drinks could hospitalize you. Your doctor knowing what you do, illegal or not, is important. I also think that for major interactions with something that is really common, like even if you don't do the thing very frequently, very common interactions, like anything with alcohol, anything with like very basic over the counter pain meds like Advil or Tylenol level, that should be told to you immediately. Just immediately. Doctor just didn't. I'm punching another doctor. I know so many people that I've gotten preggo because they didn't know the antibiotics they were giving would stop birth control from working. Or, what was the other one? Grapefruit? So many people don't know about the grapefruit thing when they're taking birth control. And then they find out on accident. Wait, what? Oh no, do I have to tell you? So, grapefruit interacts with more than just birth control, but this keeps coming up for birth control. Grapefruit can interact with a lot of your meds. And it's really, really important that people realize that and nobody tells anybody. This is what it is. Chemicals in grapefruit interfere with an enzyme in the intestines which affects how your body breaks down and absorbs certain medicines. That's what it's doing, and nobody talks about that. I have never seen a doctor ever talk to anybody I know about that. Granted, I don't like grapefruit, so I don't care. And it doesn't affect me, but it was one of those things when I was first looking at options for birth control for myself, I was looking at the interactions to see what was going to interact with the things that I would be, like, eating. Like, what affected with alcohol, or, like, which people had the worst effects with what. And I found that one out and went, good thing I hate grapefruit. Great job for me. Speaking of meds, I gotta take mine. Yeah, remember to take your meds, everybody. I've learned that even if doctors don't ask about my medical history, I tell them anyway. I had to get an ultrasound and led with, hey, I have cyst, and the specialist was about to ask about it. She was relieved I knew and told her, yeah, it's important. Is it weird to tell people if I take birth control? Like, not like out of the not out of random, but like, oh, I need to take my birth control and whatnot? No. I've told this story. I had a teacher in high school Not about birth control, but she had thyroid medication that she needed to take. And our class was during the time that she needed to take her medicine. And there were multiple people in our class that when she mentioned it one day because she forgot and like forgot to take it at the beginning and like needed to interrupt herself to go take it immediately because there's some like fine timing with the thyroid medication that she was on. She like stopped, and after that there were at least 3 students in that class that were like, we're here to remind you too, take your medicine. And they set alarms on their phones that would go off during the class. We were all like juniors and seniors, so we were older. Take meds, grapefruit, and sleep. Okay, maybe don't do what Minty's saying. Take your meds. Don't eat the grapefruit right after. Wait like an hour. I don't normally explain why I take birth control. No, nobody cares. Is that bio water? Yes. I miss bio water. I don't miss bio water now, actually. Look at all that cleaning. Look at all that cleaning that I did. Look at me inside getting distracted and cleaning. Be delighted to learn that the public facilities kinetic sensors have been updated. It's been successfully reintegrated into our public convenience network just in time for our upcoming Equinox Festival. I love the Equinox. Continue. Wait, I want to go back to my house. How do I go back to my house? I guess we're going to the campsite now. I mean, why you take any vacation is your and your doctor's business. Also, important note, just from personal knowledge of like how many different meds can be used for different things, I never ask questions. I've known some people that have taken meds that I'm like, well, I know another person that takes it for X reason. Why are you on it? And it's like completely unrelated Z reason over here. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I just don't care. If they share that they need to take their meds, I'm just going to support them going and taking their meds. Yeah, Viagra is a heart medication that gets used for now. Yeah. And there's a lot of meds that get taken for like all sorts of different reasons. Birth control, above all, I never judge for because I know a lot of people that have had hormone imbalances. Why did I say that so weird? Hormone imbalances that the birth control fixes that just lets them live a normal life. I know people that take it basically as acne medication. Yeah. Some people get really lucky and just like don't want periods and it basically alleviates that problem for them and that's basically all they take it for. It doesn't matter. Whatever they're taking it for, whatever purpose it's serving in their life, as long as it's working, who cares? My sibling actually takes birth control for acne. Yeah. I know a lot of people that take it for the acne. They just have like really bad hormonal acne and it's basically the only way to tackle it. Cleaned an axe. Cats. Squeak is not squeaking. Squeak, squeak. Spray? I did that earlier. They don't react. I also don't know why it won't let me spray them now. Also, I miss Phil's in Minecraft. He's not dead, I just miss him. He went somewhere and he won't be back till next week and I miss him. Things we've learned about long-term use of the depot shot are cray-cray. Yes, I'm actually very happy that I decided against the depot shot. I'm so happy that my fear of needles kicked in and was a positive thing for once. Because I looked at getting the depot shot when I started birth control. I was basically looking at anything that wasn't the pill because, I've got brain worms that eat all of my memory of when to do things sometimes, and even with an alarm, I would have screwed it up a lot. And so I said, let's take that out of the equation and do something that does not require a timer. My AUD keeps my body from trying to treat my T injections like extra testosterone and converting it very rapidly to estrogen, which is counterproductive. Yeah. Yeah. Originally didn't want periods altogether, but oh my god, depot shot fucked me up. Yeah. I got very lucky. I use an IUD and it has basically stopped my periods. And let me tell you, I've never hated my human body more than the one time that I did get a period when my old IUD was basically not deteriorating, that's not the word I'm looking for, expiring. I was right at the end of it and I got one period and it fucked me up. And I did not like it. I'd already scheduled the appointment to get it changed, but I was already upset and like doubled down on getting it done immediately. IUDs scare me. Very understandably so. Also, ads are happening right now, so I'm so sorry if you cannot hear me talking about IUDs now. It can be worse after so long? Yeah. No, I was right up against the... I think I was even past, like, the... This is with doctor permission. The doctor, I went several years and, like, had appointments, and they're like, you can wait until X date to get it replaced, and I listened to them, and I should have done it the year before. I should have done it the year before, it would have been better. Also, hi Blossom. Heard of the pain from it, and I do not want that. So, as somebody that has not been medicated ever for it, I'm going to fight my next doctor when I need to replace it. Ever. Yeah, no, they gave me 4 Advil. Actually, no, they didn't even give me 4 Advil. They told me to take 4 Advil before I came in. It can be a bitch. And it will be a bitch. But if you can talk to your doctor and be like, I would like to be medicated, they will probably listen to you. I'm going to make that demand the next time I have to do that appointment. I'm going to go in there and be like, listen, this is not my first rodeo. This will in fact be my 3rd rodeo. And I would like to be medicated. I don't care if it means that I have to like schedule it out further or if I have to pay more. I would like to be medicated. And hopefully, whatever doctor I am with at that point will listen to me. I forgot that's not free, I'm so sorry. I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's not, but you know, it's fine. You know? It's not fine. I don't know why I'm saying it's fine. I think I've just accepted my lot in life. I've experienced what is probably comparable to the pain of the insertion process, and yeah, I was on the floor even though it only lasted for a few minutes. I'm trying to remember how bad it was both times. So I always had my appointments lined up perfectly for this, so it wound up being mostly fine. I think both of them, well no, that one was an evening appointment. This will get a little bit gross. I'm not gonna dwell on the details of like the bodily processes, but it can act as like almost a pseudo period. So like a little bit of bleeding, a lot of cramps. Actually, it's more than a pseudo period. It's like worse cramps, but almost no blood. Which makes sense. But both times I did it, I had the appointments scheduled for Fridays. And then I had a weekend where I had nothing going on. And so I got really lucky as well, because the first one I did while I was in college. My professor for my poetry class that evening canceled the class. I was fully ready to go into a class right after getting it. I should never have put myself in that place. I am so thankful that my professor canceled the class that day, because I spent the rest of that day, because I got it done in the morning, I spent the rest of that day laying in my bed in my dorm, watching things on my laptop, miserable. And I did a similar thing when I got it replaced several years ago, where I basically had it done after work. I drove myself, which I also should not have done, but it was fine. And then I spent the entire night just miserable in bed. Just miserable. But it's okay, because I lived. And now I only feel mild fear. No. It's, well, I feel a lot of feelings. It is best to take the birth control pill at the same time every day. If you can get it like ballpark or use like a phone alarm, that will be better. Again, this is why I went for an IUD and not a pill, because I'm also bad at this. I was offered both local anesthetic and a benzo to take to both help me stay chill and also to make muscles chill out, which was to take on top of my normal muscle relaxers and anti-inflammatory that I take regularly. So there are certainly options that you can discuss with your doctor. Yes. Yes. I had a fear when I started pursuing meds for ADHD I'd be perceived as just trying to get amphetamines. Okay, hold on. But I keep laughing at people that I know that have ADHD that take amphetamines for it, because everybody has that fear of like they're just thinking that I'm drug seeking, but every single person I know with like ADHD that takes those meds literally cannot remember to take their own meds and are not in any way really addicted to it. And it's really bad. They can't even remember the pill exists. They're not drug seeking. They don't know what's going on. It's fine. Well, they know what's going on. They're trying to fix the situation. It's fine. They'll get there. And most of them are pretty good. And I know a lot of those people also use alarms, the same way that other people with birth control do. Same issue as I've needed to get pain meds changed. Dude, I have family members that have chronic pain. The hoops that they have to jump through every single time they're trying to get evaluated for new pain management options. Because this isn't pain that they can, like, just get rid of. It is pain that has to be managed. It can't be removed. It has to be managed. The hoops are so bad. So bad. Pain management in the country is horrible. Yes. It is. It's just bad. I'm usually pretty good about it, but that's actually because I take HRT at the same time, and that's very important to me. Yeah, if you just tack on habits to things that you're already doing, it sometimes helps. So I'm glad that those two together work for you. But you should take regular drug vacations from the amphetamines every 6 months or so. Take 2 to 3 days off from it to avoid building tolerance. Yeah, and that's obviously another thing to have a conversation with your doctor about. And they'll be able to help you manage what you're looking at and like what's going on and all that kind of stuff. And they may even have like a different recommendation depending on what you're taking, of how often you should take breaks from it and things like that. Always listen to your doctors, and if your doctors are making you mad, go get a second opinion. And hopefully the second opinion is better. Or more understanding of the situation. A second onion. Now I just want onion. I got so upset today. Well, I didn't get really upset today, but I was at work. They feed us food, and I love that they feed us food. But they made a salad, and it had lots of onions in it, but it was entirely a tomato salad, which meant that I did not want to eat it because tomato texture, bad. And I was very upset about the lack of onions in my life. The rest of the food was really good. It was Ethiopian. And they brought us the really good injera bread. It's like a spongy, sourdoughish bread. It's sponge, tastes good, used to scoop up soup. I'm going on a year without having done that. Totally my bad, but now I need to wait until after finals to do so because I do go through withdrawal symptoms from it. Yeah, definitely don't do it right now. Clover, please. I'm already worried about you enough as it is. You've got so much going on. Now I want more bread. I think I'm just hungry. I'm not hungry at all, but I am hungry. Like tomatoes? I don't hate tomatoes. I just don't like raw tomatoes. Texture. Bad texture. Don't want. Do not eat the oil paints. It will not fix you. Do not listen to time. Time speaks lies. Nuh-uh. The fuck you mean, nuh-uh? I thought I heard a bee. No, Clover, don't eat the oil paints. Please don't be like me and randomly go cold turkey on meds. Did that with antidepressants for probably 5 days. Not sure why I did that. I was miserable. Yeah, definitely don't do that. Don't do that. I keep forgetting that my mouse runs into the side of the screen. I don't even always notice that, really. Like, I completely missed it yesterday and had a very productive day and remembered it today and had a much less productive day. Can't tell if I'm doing more because I'm depressed or the Adderall is actually doing something. It's hard. There's a lot of things that are probably going into it all at once. I mean, this is why I think also journaling is really important, is to keep track of, like, if you're on meds, or even if you're like me, because I will forget how long I've slept, and if I track roughly how much I'm sleeping, I can tell when I'm getting close to being in danger of getting, like, migraines and things. So I track my sleep because it is important for me to know if I am towing the line of doing something stupid to myself. Like, I had a week where I was sleeping so poorly, and I kept forcing myself to go to bed earlier because I was literally looking at my journal going, like, if I continue with this trend and I don't try to get more sleep, I will have a migraine tomorrow. And lo and behold, I did get a migraine the next day because I could not sleep. Because I know that that's a migraine trigger for me. And it doesn't even have to be journaling. It can just be finding, like, a little weekly notebook and jotting down stuff. Yeah, because of my ataraxia, I have to keep track of all kinds of things, sleep, food, so on, etc. Yeah, it can be helpful. Can be helpful for many different reasons, for different diagnoses, even just for people that are trying to, like, just be more mindful of what they're doing. Camping is just something else, huh? It's almost like you're living in some lawless wilderness. Vicky, are you okay? Take this morning, for example. I thought it'd make us pots of delicious porridge to eat after mushroom picking in the woods. And all of the pots had been stolen by bears? What are you talking about, ma'am? I track my tummy troubles. Yee. I also track things for, like, Anne in, like, my notebook. If she's having a particularly rough day, or if I screw up and I accidentally skip some of her meds, because it's happened, like, once or twice, where I'll, like, sleep in really, really late, and then I'm like, I have literally missed the window for one of her rounds of meds. I just keep track of it to make sure that, like, A, I'm aware of when I've accidentally done something wrong. Anne takes meds? Yeah, Anne has thyroid problems. She takes meds morning and night. I give her pills. And then I feed her treats. And then she forgives me. Anne is better medicated than I am. I do have to fight her, but she is very well managed. Anne pops pills. Yep. Yup, that's what my cat does. Basically given up on predicting my headaches and migraines because it's 90% based on eye pressure. My eyes do whatever they want, sadly. Yeah, there's only so much you can track, and you don't need to track everything in your life, but for me, with the, like, okay, I say this. I'm not going to tell you everything in the world that triggers my migraines, but I have the very obvious trigger for myself of my sleep schedule, and then there's less obvious ones that I do have to still manually track, like some of my hormones. So even though I don't have periods because of my birth control, I still track roughly where I am in my cycle. So I know when I am more likely to get a migraine versus when I am less likely to get a migraine. Wife has taken stream from me, people lost. But there's also some other triggers that I haven't quite figured out, or things that have just, like, started a migraine and I'm like, I don't know this is possible. I'm tracking my food lately. I suspect I might be allergic to lettuce. How it's just crunchy water. Iceberg lettuce is just crunchy water, but there are still things in other forms in other lettuce that could cause problems. I have a family member who is also, they're allergic to celery. And so there's some other vegetables and other green plants that are related in certain ways that they are also realizing that they're allergic to. What did Ether's tech do? This is long before I even knew Ether. This is a family thing that's been going on since I was but a wee child. So I also like gut check everything that I buy at the store still. I still check and see if it's appropriate for that family member. Like, I know what brands of things I can safely get. I know what options are unavailable now. I know which ones have changed over the years. I still keep track of somebody else's allergies, and I don't live with them anymore. It is interesting to see when the recipes change and that suddenly that allergy is everywhere, and it's annoying. I talk to them pretty regularly, and it's just been a pain. Okay. Yatch. I have pollen and pet fur allergies, but that's really it. I have the ominous, ambiguous Pacific Northwest allergy. I still don't know what it's to. I should ask my doctor at some point about it, but I know when it happens and I know what to do about it, so. I don't really feel the need to pursue knowing what it is. Like hay fever? It's not hay fever. It's not hay fever. It is very specifically a Pacific Northwest allergy for me. So I know it is something in the Pacific Northwest. And I know that it's also possibly genetic. Because my dad has the same allergy. And when I went to college, we thought I had bronchitis. And then my dad went, wait a second. Go to the store, use my credit card, buy this medicine, take this as directed by the packaging for the next 3 weeks. And I did. And you want to know what happened by week 2? I was suddenly not having all of my coughing and sneezing and everything. And he has had the same issues in the Pacific Northwest in the past when he was much younger. So it is a similar issue. And whatever it is, it seems to be genetic. It got passed on genetically, at least. My roommate has many allergies, but tree nuts and gluten/celiacs are her 2 big ones, so she can't eat. So she can eat like nothing. Oh my god. God, celiac is so hard because so many facilities process so many things close enough together that if you're sensitive enough to gluten, sometimes it just being in the same room can, like, gluten something. Just enough for you to have, like, the most mild of reactions, and it's really annoying. There was somebody who just actually left my office. She moved on to go do other things, but she had celiac and had issues with sometimes there were things that they would put too close to her food and she would have a reaction to it, and it sucked so much. Super. Yeah, I can imagine this be a super issue as well. Also, yeah, don't take Benadryl long term. It's just got a lot of problems associated with long-term usage. Recently, one of my coworkers' friends came up and they were certain they had a reaction to cross-contamination. They were celiac. It's very possible. It's incredibly possible that it was a cross-contamination issue for them. I would bet good money that it was, actually. I knew some people that were also allergic to nightshades. That cross-contamination was usually less of a concern, but it was like, well, no. Cross-contamination was a big concern in that they would have to request everything be made in a, like, very recently cleaned grill. Like, has to be cleaned for them to eat from anything. Can't have anything else touch it that was related to their allergy. Just horrible. If I recall, breadcrumbs have thousands of particles of gluten and you have both an allergic reaction, plus it scars your intestines. Yes. Worst part about dining halls is the buffet style stuff causes cross-contamination very easily. Absolutely. I knew some people that were allergic to things that if something was on the menu that they were allergic to, I think sometimes they were able to make requests of the dining hall in advance, but there were some that they didn't eat that day. Or they would go to a different dining hall that had different options that was much more allergy friendly. Is nightshade used for grilling or something? Okay, so in the nightshade family of plants are tomatoes, potatoes, etc. Some very common foods. It was, for her, it was very specifically tomatoes were a major source of issues. anything with a tomato sauce, if it touched her food, it was literally inedible to her. Like, she could not eat it. It was bad. It was probably the worst case of an allergy I've seen. I know somebody else who had a worse allergy in general, but it was to latex. I also was there, I guess. I didn't have to do anything, but I was there when she was experiencing an allergic reaction to a latex balloon that had come into our building. It did not touch her. It came into our building. And she had an allergic reaction to it. And we had to call we had to call for an ambulance and all that fun stuff. That person, she had an unfortunate number of people just straight up not believe that her latex allergy was real as well. So that was even more infuriating. Like, we had been told at the beginning of the year, like, hey, no latex balloons anywhere near this building. Do not the latex balloon. And someone still went, it'll be fine. I'll bring in the latex balloon. Nothing bad will happen. So please take it very seriously when somebody says they have an allergy, because 9 times out of 10 it is extremely serious. Also, I'm going to fight every fast food worker ever that ever gives anybody the drink with sugar when somebody specifically requests diet. I'm gonna fight you. I'm just going to assume that this is all clean. That pisses me off too, yeah. We had the opposite happen where somebody requested a full... I almost said full fat. Nope, I'm sticking with that. A full fat Coke. And got handed a diet one, and that one was more of a like, did you need the sugar for it? And they were like, no, I'm good. And we were like, okay, then it's fine. But going the other way, bad. Actually, both ways can be absolutely horrible, but that one is at least erring on the side of a different kind of caution. Roommate is also diabetic? Yeah. It's bad. I have another family member who is diabetic. These are not all the same family members. Just to be incredibly clear, I do not have one family member with all of the allergies and illnesses, but it definitely sounds like it from the way I'm talking about all of them. This is Jeremy. He has every illness known to man. And some unknown to man. I feel like Super is that statistical outlier in their family. Oh, absolutely. My friend Ryan was awake for way too long. We got burgers and they put tomatoes on it. We went inside after going through the drive-thru and they did it again. He was so mad he threw the burger at her face. Oh, damn. What? Huh? What happened? What happened? Hold on. What the... What? What? Stop. I got yoinked? Yeah, I don't know what you got yoinked for. Oh, never mind. I know what you got yoinked for. I didn't realize it looked like that. I have a certain thing that can cause my blood sugar to bottom out really fast, and I got an Alani because I was like, oh, it's soda and caffeine, so I'll be able to make it to the end of my shift. Yeah, so then we have found out Alanis are zero sugar despite not at all tasting like it. Oh yeah, no, Alanis are zero sugar. I have realized what I have done. I did not expect to find it this way, but it's fine. But also, yes, people are allergic to the sun. There's somebody on... I'm trying to remember what social media it was. They were posting about how they live life. They are so allergic to the sun that they literally will go to the hospital if they get even like 5 minutes worth of sun exposure. Like, no, they cannot go outside at all. If they go outside, they have a hood, they have a mask, long sleeve, long pants, everything. Low blood sugar and 100 milligrams of caffeine was not fun. No. Sojin Johnson syndrome? I think I know who you're talking about. Probably. Time, I feel like, despite the fact that I don't talk about the creators that I watch online all that often, I feel like we exist on the exact same corners of some parts of the internet, and so we see all the same people. It's happened again. Separate from porphyria, which also gives severe sun problems. What's interesting is that this one will not let me put it... This one won't let me let this one in. I can't hit allow. I had a friend who would always have massive blood sugar drop if she hadn't had anything sugary in like 5 to 6 hours while awake. I've been trying to convince her to talk to a doctor about that for like 8 years now to no avail, and it stresses me out a lot. They'll get there. Allow these nuts. Okay. Is Mod okay? Yes. Why are you apologizing? I allowed these nuts. I've learned a thing. Actually, nope, I'm not doing that right now. That's not something I can do while the stream is live. I'm relatively sure I have low ironing. It's super bad when I'm on my period. Yes, eat a steak. I don't like a steak. Eat other high iron thing. I saw somebody else on the internet talking about, her husband, I believe, every, like, once a month knew around where she was in her cycle and would, in advance, like, just before when her period would normally happen, which I think was regular because of birth control, just to cycle it back around, because she was on pills and had the week off pills, the placebo pills. He would make her a steak in advance, like, so that when she was, like, right about to start her period, her iron levels were already higher, so that she would experience less cramping and less issues. And I think that's very sweet. Legume these nuts. Sorry, I can't stop myself. Well, I could stop myself, but I'm not going to stop myself. I'm going to make it everybody else's problem. Worries me because she, like, doesn't always notice when it's starting. It puts her in a state where she cannot focus or do anything complex, so I fear her getting stuck somewhere without having sugar available and having to drive while it's going on or something. There's only so much you can do for somebody, unfortunately. This does remind me, and I've talked about them recently. The friend that I had in college, he had many allergies and many other health issues. And we would collectively, as a unit, look after him. His partner, who is now his spouse, would have, like, things on hand to take care of him. And at least one of the roommates, if they were on campus at the same time, would be available to help him or have backups of his meds. So you sometimes need help being looked after, but there's only so much you can do. And he consented to all of that and understood that it was better when he had the help. But I know a lot of other people that are very stubborn and don't want to ask for help and don't want to accept the help, even though it would make their lives easier. So you can be there as often as you can and encourage them to go to a doctor and talk about the issue. Unfortunately, you cannot force them to go. Which is always the worry, is like, I can't do anything about it. I can be there for them, but I can't do anything else. I know I just worry about her. No, and that's a valid feeling. Remember being very stubborn about my bullshit? Yeah. Well, it's one of those, like, it's... This will sound a little bit weird. It's a little bit about control and autonomy. And sometimes when you're going through a health struggle like that and you're trying to figure things out, being told, like, hey, I think you need to do this, hey, I think you need to do that, just gets people's brains in the wrong space, and they go, I don't need to do shit, I can look after myself. And then they get more stubborn about not going to the doctor, and then you sit there and you go, please go to the doctor. Please. That's how I feel about the whole iron thing. Either go to the doctor. No. Do what you can. Do what you can for yourself. Take care of yourself as best as you can. It's hard. Taking care of yourself is something that is a skill. It is not something that you know how to do immediately. I'm in my early 30s and I still feel like every year I go, okay, and I need to start doing X, Y, and Z this year. I need to start doing this year. I need to get better about taking my supplements because I know that I struggle with eating food that fills in these parts of the dietary requirements. So I need to do better about taking care of myself. And I have a doctor appointment soon where they will take my blood and then tell me that I am deficient in everything. They won't, actually. I've been pretty good about my pills and also eating a varied diet, so I'm probably doing pretty good this year. But they will, I'm betting. This is the real bet. The real bet is, will my doctor tell me that I'm vitamin D deficient? And this is a problem very specific to Seattle, because I feel like no matter who they are, everybody I've ever known, whether or not they're taking vitamin D or not in this region, they're just constantly vitamin D deficient. And it's just because of the way that our sun is. It's really funny. Because I'm hoping I'm in normal range, but I would not bat an eye if my doctor said, you need to take more vitamin D. There's so many things I know I should be doing, but I'm mostly going to ignore that except for like one thing at a time. I live by the opinion. Okay, vitamin D's nuts. I will allow because I have been thinking it the entire time. I am of the opinion that doing things one step at a time is sometimes the only thing that you can do. And I have been, like, slowly adding on more things to what I'm trying to do for my own health. And doing them one step at a time has been the only way I've been able to do it. And it's better to do one step at a time than do 0 things. And those one step at a time is going to be longer lasting if I'm actually focusing on making it a dedicated part of my life rather than just trying to skip ahead. And I've never heard from a doctor that I've spoken to that I'm doing anything wrong. They just go, hey, make sure that you go do this. And I go, I will add it to my list of things that I try to do soon. Some tests are more pressing than others. I've had recent medical tests that I was like, hey, we really want you to get this done because there's a lot of contributing factors in which this may be a concern for you. I go and do those tests. I am anxious as hell the entire time. And then it's fine. Also, please get some vitamin C, everyone.
Rats
Do not
less than
contract
3
scurvy.
easy and not full of iron.
Have a good night, Aether. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are definitely getting scurvy because they're just not eating anything that's helpful. What if I drank some vinegar? I mean, you can. I can't stop you. I also can't help you, so, like... yeah. The amount of times I have notated all the advice for lifestyle changes I've been told to make so I can gradually add them rather than being like, okay, this needs to be done every day now. The other thing as well is that in a lot of trying to make changes in your life, you're probably going to hit a plateau. I'm going to say this again. Every change, positive or negative, but especially for the positive ones, you're going to reach a plateau point where that piece of advice does not work anymore. Your body gets used to the piece of advice, so the change that it was making in your life no longer is that effective anymore. It doesn't work past a certain point, or there's only so much that it can do for you. All of these things. So, even as you're making small incremental changes to your life, make sure that you are also listening to your body about what changes are or are not working. My walks have been helpful, and they were helping me with losing some excess weight that I wanted to get rid of, but they don't last forever as a way of, like, truly getting all of the exercise that I need. And that's just a thing that you have to, like, keep contending with. As good as we are at adapting to things, it means that our bodies sometimes go, yeah, this change you're making for a positive, that's just life now. And then it adapts to that. And then you go, wait, hold on. I needed you to just keep doing this thing. And it doesn't last. Oop. There's actually a chance that I'm allergic to vinegar, not lettuce. Just very often they're together because I love the taste of vinegar. Okay, so chug some vinegar. Wait 30 minutes and see how you feel. So many doctors want my blood, it's so special. They take my blood and stare at it and then go, wow, look at how fucked up this loser is. Can we have more of that shit? Oh no. This reminds me that I need to put down in my notebook that I want to know my blood type so that I remember to ask. I want to know my blood type for realsies and not just from the at-home tests that I've had. Because that, I keep forgetting to ask for it and they don't tell me. I'm afraid if I stop running, I will gain insane weight. And I mean, that's true too. There's some habits that when you are younger, that change your physiology. The best example I can think of are dancers. If you are a dancer, or I think also gymnast, at a young age, it changes how your body grows, and it changes what you need to do later in life to keep yourself healthy. It also changes what things you are at risk for hurting. It changes what things you will grow up later in life to be like, yep, nope, wrong. And I think that stuff is also fascinating. Hi Blossom, you're also playing PowerWash Simulator. I need to go back and get the rest of the achievements for the first one, but I really wanted to play the second one because there's only 40 achievements, and that's much more achievable in my brain. I'm 98% confident about what my blood type is because I'm pretty sure my parents have the same blood type, so there's bad odds of me having a different one. Yes. You could be a freak of nature, but it is less likely that you are a freak of nature. Actually, no, we'll leave it over there. I was thinking a thought. The thought is gone. Hold on. I have no idea. I figure if I have a different one, it's going to be on the plus minus axis, not on the letter axis. Maybe. I just don't remember what mine is. I also don't remember my parents' blood types. That's fine. I don't need to know that very often, so I think I'm fine. Actually, I have pretty much never needed to know my parents' blood types, so it's fine. Oh, it's almost the end of stream. Man. Why does the progression of time have to interfere with my want to ramble about silly things and also play PowerWash Sim? I am sorry that I'm not playing Cult of the Lamb today. I knew that my brain wasn't going to be all here in a good way that was productive for video gaming, for realsies, and that something like PowerWash Sim would probably be better, because I probably would have spent like a good 30 minutes just not doing the video game. So I figured it would be nice to just do something where it's a little bit easier to be like, yeah, I'm just not going to play for 5 minutes. Or I can do this and I don't have to think that hard. Because there's not a lot of thinking that happens in PowerWash Sim. Minus the water my body is wanting to hold and do nothing with. Sometimes you just need to hold water. Give it a hug. My brain went, I don't know if my parents still have blood, which is a really odd way for my brain... to contemplate whether or not they're alive. Okay. I drink more water and also electrolytes. I'd say start with water. See how drinking more water feels from there, and then see if you need more electrolytes from there. Also give your time... Give your time? Water your time. You know. Water your time. Give me. Give time your kneecaps. No. Give increased water consumption a little bit of time. As well. Because I know from personal experience as well. Sometimes you'll start drinking more water and then go, all I'm doing is peeing more. And then after like a month of drinking more water, your body is actually holding on to water in a productive way and you feel thirst differently. Because I spent a large majority of time as a child being dehydrated pretty much, and so I constantly felt thirsty and had no way of really regulating, so I would overdrink water sometimes, and that was equally unhelpful in a different way. Come here. Gotta give that body time to adjust to new things and let it adapt. Why here, bee? Grew up with a girl who isn't around anymore because she drank so much water. What? Insane. I also taught myself to respond to any feeling of ailment by chugging water. Okay, well, drinking water can help with many things. Headache, water is a common one that I have to rely on because I also sometimes forget to drink water and then I go, why do I have a headache? And then I drink water and I feel fine. Like an insane amount of water. She had renal failure at 12. Oh my god. Yeah, I've heard of that happening. Weird sensitive skin thing when you get sick. Water. Tired but not in a been awake way. Water. Oh, when I feel tired but in a like a weird way, I don't know, like I feel tired but it's not in a sleepy way, I just get up and walk around. And that usually gives my brain time to wander. This is why I started doing walkies at work. Because I get up and I go for a walk after a couple hours of being at work when my brain starts shutting down and my brain goes, I'm conscious again. It's a reset button. I wish I could knock this off. I want to knock it off. Little walkies are so good. Yes, and then I read on them. And then the security guards comment on me reading while walking around with the umbrella. I've only run across it in acute forms, usually from drug use. I feel like that's the more common one, but I have heard about renal problems from just life, like more systemic things than just acute issues. Nobody that I knew personally, but like friends of friends had issues. Plus, it's also something I think about with cats all the time. Cats are more likely to experience kidney issues. And there's some discussion about like all of the solutions for it, but one of the like things is that cats literally just don't drink enough water sometimes. I don't know what's wrong with them. They just go, what if I just don't drink water? And I go, please drink water. Luckily, Anne does not seem to have that problem, so I once caught her licking the bathtub. To be clear, she has water. She has a water dish that I refill daily. But no, one day after I took a shower, I left the door open accidentally, and she, like the shower door, and I heard the ka-thunk of my cat jumping into the tub, which I also heard earlier today, because for whatever reason Anne wanted to explore the tub. But I heard the ka-thunk noise, and I got up to go see what she was doing, and she was standing in the tub, drinking the water, and then I went, no. And I lifted her out of there and said, you're not drinking that water. Closed it and then refilled her water again. I don't know what happened that day. She was just being a weirdo. Henry likes to try and lick and steal things being removed from the freezer. Yeah, coated in frozen water. Because he's oopid? No, he very smart. Very good boy. Cat like rolling around in tub. And does not like being damp. I know this from experience because sometimes she misses a spot on the back of her tail and I have to help her with it sometimes. And so I put her in the tub to clean that. Because it's easier to do in the tub. And she does not like the feeling of being damp. dry tub? Okay, hold on. Does she just like the feeling of it? I wish I could talk to cats. I wish I could ask cats what they're feeling and why they do the things they do. Why can't I be Dr. Dolittle? Also, we're gonna finish this and end stream, so we're almost done, but we're gonna go over a little bit. Mostly because I'm at 96% and I can't live with myself if I just don't get it done. Please wipe your paws. Okay. What if I don't have paws? I want to go in the ocean? I mean, I can dump you in there. Do you want to go with time? Yes? Okay, so Blossom, I need you to coordinate your trip to Seattle with time so that I can take both of you to the ocean, have a fist fight in a Denny's parking lot, and also get Dick's Burgers. And also maybe go to a cool museum or something, I don't know. Depends on what we have time for. Don't forget Aquarium Museum. Oh, we could go. Yes! We could go museum and aquarium. Why is the chair... Where's the chair dirty? Is it under... It's under there. Okay. Cabin door. Hanging lantern. I'm assuming it's the top of the lantern. No? Where? Oh, that one is on that side. I see where that's dirty. Chimney flashing. Okay. Oh, yes. I did it. Is this Spruce Spring Clean? Your friend Harper says you're up for helping me out. My house is nothing short of a national disgrace. I'm so sorry for your loss, Michelle. We did it! Oh my god, exactly on time. Perfect. Wonderful. Go to home base. I need to pet the cats. Hello, Squeak. Hello, Bubbles. Hello, Ulysses. Can I add more furniture? No, I already have furniture. I'm only at 1%. I can place so many things. I could get so many. Hold on, wait. I get a lamp? I shouldn't buy anything. No, I'm closing the game. We're quitting. I've quit the game. I've lost the game. Okay. I'm normal. We're normal. Hi, everybody. We're normal today. How are you? We're not normal today, but that's okay. But thank you guys for hanging out with me today for this ramble fest. I had too many thoughts in my head. Too many words in head needed to say words out loud so I could exist tomorrow in a functional way. But I appreciate you guys very much. I hope that you guys are taking care of yourselves this week. We'll get back to Cult of the Lamb on Thursday. I will stop myself from reading multiple books in one day so that actually I can't read multiple books in a day on Thursday because there's too much going on. I will stop myself if I get close to reading multiple books in a day so that I don't have to mental dump again. But I appreciate you guys very much. I hope that you guys have a fantastic time zone. Take care of yourselves, drink water, eat food, take your meds, take a shower, go outside, touch grass. Do everything you gotta do to take care of yourself. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye!
Comfort streamer. Trato 10 love.